Dear friends, let us begin not with answers, but with a question that has echoed through the ages, whispered in the hearts of seekers everywhere. Why do the truly wise so often remain silent? Why, when asked about the deepest mysteries of life, do the enlightened ones respond not with explanations, but with a gentle smile, a quiet presence, or even a profound silence? In our world, we are taught to value knowledge, to seek explanations, to believe that every mystery can be solved if only we ask the right questions. We look to books, to teachers, to philosophies, hoping for clarity, for certainty, for a final answer that will put our restless minds at ease. Yet when we approach the greatest sages, the most awakened beings, we find that their wisdom is not given in words, but in the spaces between them. This is not because they wish to hide the truth, nor because they lack understanding. It is because the truth they have realized is too vast, too alive, too subtle to be captured by language. Words are like small cups trying to hold the ocean. Concepts are like nets that can never catch the wind. The absolute cannot be contained in definitions, nor can the living reality of awakening be reduced to a formula. The Buddha and many other enlightened teachers understood this deeply. When asked about the nature of the universe, about life after death, or about the ultimate reality, they often chose silence over speech, not out of ignorance, but out of compassion, for they knew that any answer, no matter how skillful, would become another concept to cling to, another belief to defend, another barrier to direct experience. Today, I invite you to join me in exploring this paradox, the wisdom of not explaining, the teaching that lies beyond words. Together, we will look at why the enlightened do not give final answers, how language both reveals and conceals, and how true understanding is found not in explanation, but in direct, living experience. Let us walk this path with humility, with curiosity, and with the courage to let go of our need for certainty. Let us listen not only to the words, but to the silence that surrounds them. For in that silence, something deeper is waiting to be discovered. A wisdom that cannot be taught, but can only be awakened within. Let us begin. The inexpressibility of absolute wisdom. When we speak of wisdom, we often imagine it as something that can be taught, explained, or written down, a treasure to be passed from one mind to another. Yet the wisdom realized by the truly awakened is of a different order. It is not a collection of facts, nor a set of beliefs, nor even a philosophy. It is a living, boundless reality that cannot be contained by words. Why is this so? The answer lies in the very nature of language itself. Words are tools, beautiful, powerful, and necessary for daily life. They allow us to share our experiences, to build relationships, to make sense of the world. But words are also limited. They divide, categorize, and define. They turn the infinite into the finite, the living into the static, the mystery into a concept. Imagine trying to pour the entire ocean into a single cup. No matter how large the cup, it can never hold the vastness of the sea. In the same way, language can never fully contain the immensity of absolute wisdom. Every attempt to describe it, no matter how sincere or poetic, is only a partial reflection, a shadow of the real thing. This is not a failure of the wise, nor a shortcoming of language. It is simply the nature of things. The absolute is not a concept to be grasped, but a reality to be lived. The moment we try to define it, we have already stepped away from its living presence. The moment we give it a name, we have turned it into something else, something that can be debated, misunderstood, or misused. The Buddha understood this deeply. He saw that any attempt to explain the ultimate truth would inevitably distort it. Words, after all, are born from the mind, and the mind is conditioned by its own history, culture, and limitations. When we hear a teaching, we filter it through our own experiences, our own expectations, our own desires. What is received is never exactly what is given. This is why the greatest wisdom is often expressed in silence, in presence, in the simple act of being. The awakened ones do not withhold the truth out of secrecy or pride. Rather, they honor its vastness by refusing to reduce it to mere information. They know that the truth is not something to be possessed, but something to be realized, directly, intimately, beyond all words. In the West, we are taught to value explanation, to seek clarity, to believe that every mystery can be solved if only we ask the right questions. But the deepest mysteries are not problems to be solved, but realities to be lived. The wisdom of the awakened is not a set of answers, but an invitation to see, to experience, to awaken for ourselves. As we reflect on this, let us approach the teachings of the wise with humility and openness. Let us recognize the limits of language and the greater reality that lies beyond. Let us be willing to sit in the silence, to rest in the mystery, to trust that what cannot be spoken may still be known. If only we are willing to listen with the whole of our being. The trap of concepts and definitions. As we continue our exploration, let us look more closely at the subtle trap that arises when we try to define the undefinable. Human beings are meaning makers. We are drawn to clarity, to certainty, to the comfort of knowing. We use concepts and definitions to organize our world, to communicate, to feel safe. Yet when it comes to the deepest truths, this very tendency becomes an obstacle. Every time we give something a name, we draw a boundary around it. We say, this is what it is, and in doing so, we exclude everything it is not. But the absolute, the living reality that the awakened ones point to, cannot be contained within any boundary. It is not a thing among things, not an object to be grasped, not a concept to be defined. It is the ground of all being, the source from which all names and forms arise. When we try to define ultimate wisdom, we inevitably reduce it. We turn it into an idea, a belief, a doctrine. We make it something to be agreed with or argued against, something to be accepted or rejected. In this way, the living truth becomes just another item in the catalog of human knowledge, something to be possessed rather than something to be lived. This is why the enlightened so often refuse to answer metaphysical questions directly. When asked about the nature of the universe, about life after death, about the ultimate reality, they remain silent or respond in ways that defy easy explanation. Not because they do not know, but because they know too well the danger of turning the infinite into a finite answer. If the Buddha had said, there is something after death, people would cling to that as an absolute truth, missing the deeper reality that lies beyond all concepts of existence and non-existence. If he had said, there is nothing, people would fall into nihilism, which is equally far from the truth. Language always divides, always creates duality, while absolute wisdom is beyond all opposites. In the West, we are accustomed to seeking definitions, to building systems, to creating philosophies. We want to know where we stand, to have a map, a guide, a set of rules. But the awakened ones invite us to step beyond all maps, to let go of our need for certainty, to rest in the openness of not knowing. This is not a call to abandon reason or to reject all knowledge. Rather, it is an invitation to see the limits of our concepts, to recognize that the finger pointing to the moon is not the moon itself. It is a reminder that the deepest truths cannot be captured by any system, any definition, any belief. As we reflect on this, let us be gentle with ourselves and with others. Let us honor the power of language, but not be trapped by it. Let us use concepts as tools, but not mistake them for reality. And above all, let us remain open to the living mystery that lies beyond all words, all names, all definitions. Why enlightened beings remain silent? As we journey deeper, a natural question arises. If the awakened ones have seen the truth, why do they so often choose silence over explanation? Why, when asked about the greatest mysteries, do they respond with a gentle smile, a quiet gaze, or a wordless presence? The answer lies in their profound understanding of both the nature of truth and the nature of the human mind. The enlightened know that any answer given in words will inevitably be filtered through the listener's own beliefs, experiences, and limitations. No matter how skillful the explanation, it will be received not as the living truth, but as another concept, another idea to be accepted, rejected, or misunderstood. Consider the Buddha, who was often asked about the nature of the universe, the existence of the soul, or what happens after death. Instead of providing direct answers, he frequently remained silent or redirected the question. This was not because he lacked insight, but because he saw that any answer would only create new attachments, new dogmas, new misunderstandings. If he said, "There is something after death," people would cling to that as a comforting belief. If he said, "There is nothing," others would fall into despair or nihilism. In both cases, the real invitation to awaken beyond all concepts would be lost. Silence in this context is not emptiness or avoidance. It is a living, compassionate response. It is an invitation for the seeker to look beyond words, to question their own assumptions, to discover the truth directly within themselves. The enlightened know that the deepest realization cannot be given. It must be discovered. It is not a gift that can be handed from one person to another, but a flame that must be kindled in the heart of each seeker. In the West, we often expect our teachers to provide answers, to resolve our doubts, to give us certainty. We may feel frustrated or even rejected when we encounter silence instead of explanation. Yet, if we look more deeply, we may see that this silence is the greatest gift. It is a space in which our own wisdom can arise, a mirror in which we can see the limitations of our questions, a doorway to a deeper kind of knowing. The silence of the awakened is not a refusal, but an invitation. It is a gentle reminder that the truth we seek cannot be found in someone else's words, but only in our own direct experience. It is a call to stop searching for final answers outside ourselves and to turn inward to the quiet, spacious awareness that is always present, always available, always free. As we reflect on this, let us honor the wisdom of silence. Let us trust that, in the absence of easy answers, something deeper is at work. Let us be willing to sit with our questions, to rest in the mystery, to allow the truth to reveal itself, not as a concept, but as a living reality within. The limits of human perception and experience. As we reflect on the silence of the awakened, we begin to see that their restraint is not only an act of compassion, but also a recognition of the profound limits of human perception. The previous parts have shown us that words and concepts can never fully capture the living truth. Now let us look more deeply at why this is so, why our very way of perceiving and experiencing the world shapes and often distorts what we are able to understand. Each of us lives within a unique web of memories, beliefs, and experiences. When we hear a teaching, we do not receive it as a blank slate. Instead, we filter it through the lens of our own history. Our minds are conditioned to interpret everything in terms of what we already know. This is not a flaw, but a natural function of the human brain. It helps us survive, make sense of the world, and communicate with others. Yet it also means that when we encounter something truly new, something that lies beyond our previous experience, we struggle to grasp it. This is especially true when it comes to the ultimate truths pointed to by the enlightened. These truths are not just new information. They are a radical shift in perspective, a direct seeing that transcends all previous knowledge. But if our minds are not ready, if we are still attached to our old ways of thinking, we will inevitably misunderstand, reduce, or even reject what is being offered. The Buddha and other awakened teachers understood this deeply. They knew that no matter how clearly they spoke, their words would be interpreted according to the listener's level of experience and readiness. This is why they often chose silence, or used indirect methods, stories, metaphors, paradoxes to guide their students. They recognize that true understanding cannot be given from the outside. It must arise from within through direct experience. In the West, we often assume that more information leads to more understanding. We believe that if we just read enough, study enough, or hear the right explanation, we will finally get it. But the wisdom of the awakened points us in a different direction. It reminds us that the mind itself is limited, that our habitual ways of knowing are not equipped to grasp the infinite. The truth is not something to be accumulated, but something to be discovered anew, in the freshness of each moment. This is why the journey of awakening is not just about learning, but about unlearning, about letting go of our fixed ideas, our cherished beliefs, our need for certainty. It is about opening ourselves to the unknown, to the possibility that reality is far vaster, more mysterious, and more alive than anything we can imagine. As we continue, let us honor the limits of our own perception. Let us approach the teachings with humility, recognizing that what we understand today may be only a small glimpse of a much greater reality. Let us be patient with ourselves and with others, knowing that true wisdom unfolds in its own time, in its own way. And let us trust that, even in our not knowing, we are being gently guided toward a deeper, more direct experience of the truth. Indirect teaching, guiding without explaining. Building upon our understanding of the limits of perception and the compassionate silence of the awakened, we now arrive at a subtle art that has shaped the transmission of wisdom for centuries: the art of indirect teaching. If the deepest truths cannot be explained directly, and if each person's understanding is shaped by their own readiness and experience, how then do the enlightened guide others toward awakening? The answer is found in their methods that do not rely on giving final answers, but on creating the conditions for direct realization. Rather than handing out conclusions, the wise offer questions, stories, paradoxes, and practices that invite the seeker to look within, to question their assumptions, and to discover the truth for themselves. Consider the many stories from the Buddhist and Zen traditions, where a student approaches a master with a burning question about the nature of reality. Instead of a straightforward answer, the master might respond with a riddle, a gesture, or even a period of silence. Sometimes the master simply instructs the student to meditate, to observe their own mind, or to engage in a seemingly mundane task. These responses are not evasions, but skillful means, ways of breaking through the student's habitual patterns of thought and opening a space for direct insight. Why is this approach so powerful? Because it respects the unique journey of each individual. It recognizes that true understanding cannot be imposed from the outside, but must arise from within. When a seeker is guided to discover the answer through their own experience, the realization is alive, unshakable, and transformative. It is no longer a borrowed belief, but a living truth. This method also protects the seeker from the dangers of dogma and blind faith. When we are given answers too easily, we may cling to them as fixed beliefs, mistaking them for the truth itself. But when we are invited to inquire, to doubt, to explore, we remain open, flexible, and alive to the ever-unfolding mystery of existence. In the West, education often emphasizes the transmission of information. Teachers provide answers. Students memorize and repeat. But the path of awakening is different. It is not about accumulating knowledge, but about awakening wisdom. The greatest teachers are those who, rather than filling our minds with facts, awaken in us the courage to question, the humility to not know, and the willingness to see for ourselves. This is why the enlightened are often described as guides rather than authorities. They do not demand obedience or belief. Instead, they walk alongside us, pointing the way, but never walking the path for us. Their greatest gift is not what they say, but what they awaken in us. The spark of inquiry, the light of awareness, the confidence to trust our own direct experience. As we reflect on this, let us appreciate the wisdom of indirect teaching. Let us be grateful for the questions, the silences, and the challenges that invite us to look deeper. Let us remember that the journey to truth is not a straight line, but a spiral, one that leads us ever closer to the heart of reality, not through explanation, but through discovery. The difference between knowledge and wisdom. As we follow the path of indirect teaching and personal discovery, a crucial distinction emerges, one that lies at the heart of all authentic spiritual growth: the difference between knowledge and wisdom. This distinction is subtle, yet it shapes the entire journey from seeking to awakening. Knowledge is what we acquire from outside ourselves. It is the accumulation of facts, theories, and explanations, what we read in books, hear in lectures, or learn from others. Knowledge is valuable. It helps us navigate the world, solve problems, and communicate with others. But knowledge by its very nature is secondhand. It is borrowed, remembered, and often repeated without being truly lived. Wisdom, on the other hand, is born from direct experience. It is not something we can simply receive from another, no matter how eloquent or learned they may be. Wisdom arises when knowledge is tested in the fire of life, when we see for ourselves, when we feel deeply, when we are transformed by what we encounter. Wisdom is not about having the right answers, but about living with clarity, compassion, and presence. This is why the awakened ones are so careful not to confuse the two. They know that a person can be full of knowledge, able to recite scriptures, debate philosophy, or explain spiritual concepts, yet still be untouched by true understanding. When life brings suffering, loss, or change, knowledge alone cannot bring peace. Only wisdom rooted in direct realization can offer true freedom. In the West, we often equate intelligence with knowledge. We admire those who know much, who can speak persuasively, who have mastered complex ideas. But the path of awakening asks us to look deeper. It invites us to move beyond the surface of information, to the living heart of wisdom. It asks us to embody what we know, to let it shape our actions, our relationships, our way of being in the world. This distinction also explains why the enlightened are cautious about giving too many answers. They understand that if we rely solely on what we are told, we may become dependent, passive, or even arrogant in our certainty. But when we are encouraged to discover for ourselves, we become humble, open, and alive to the mystery of life. The difference between knowledge and wisdom is like the difference between reading about love and falling in love, between studying a map and walking the land, between hearing about freedom and tasting it for ourselves. No amount of description can substitute for the direct experience. As we reflect on this, let us honor the role of knowledge, but not mistake it for wisdom. Let us seek not only to understand, but to embody, not only to learn, but to live. Let us remember that the greatest teachings are not those we can recite, but those that transform us from within. May we walk this path with humility, with curiosity, and with the courage to turn knowledge into wisdom, by living, by experiencing, by awakening in the heart of our own lives. The danger of systematizing truth. As we deepen our understanding of the difference between knowledge and wisdom, another important insight comes into view: the danger of turning living truth into rigid systems. Throughout history, whenever a profound realization or teaching has emerged, there has been a tendency to organize it, to codify it, to build structures around it. While this impulse is natural and often well-intentioned, it carries with it a subtle risk: the risk of losing the very essence of what was originally alive and liberating. When wisdom is systematized, it is often reduced to doctrines, rules, and hierarchies. What began as a living experience becomes a set of beliefs to be memorized, rituals to be performed, or dogmas to be defended. The original invitation, to awaken, to see for oneself, to live with presence, can become overshadowed by the need to belong, to conform, or to be right. This process is not unique to any one tradition. We see it in the history of Buddhism, where the Buddha's simple teachings on suffering and liberation gradually evolved into complex schools, elaborate rituals, and institutional hierarchies. We see it in other spiritual paths, in philosophy, and even in science. The human mind seeks certainty, order, and control, and so it builds systems to contain what is, by nature, uncontainable. But the danger is clear. When truth becomes a system, it can become lifeless. The seeker may become more concerned with following rules than with direct experience, more invested in defending beliefs than in questioning them, more attached to identity than to freedom. The living flame of inquiry is replaced by the cold comfort of certainty. The awakened ones have always warned against this. The Buddha did not establish a religion or a fixed doctrine. He offered a path, a way of seeing, a method for direct realization. Other great teachers, too, have resisted being turned into authorities or founders of systems. They understood that the moment a teaching is frozen into a formula, it begins to lose its power to awaken. In the West, we are surrounded by systems, religious, philosophical, scientific, and social. These systems can be helpful, providing guidance, community, and continuity. But they can also become prisons if we forget their original purpose. The map is not the territory, the menu is not the meal. Systems are meant to serve life, not replace it. As we reflect on this, let us be grateful for the wisdom that has been handed down, but let us also be vigilant. Let us not confuse the finger pointing to the moon with the moon itself. Let us use systems as tools, but not as substitutes for direct experience. Let us remain open, flexible, and willing to question even the teachings we hold most dear. May we remember that truth is not a possession, but a living reality. It cannot be captured, only encountered. It cannot be systematized, only lived. And may we have the courage to step beyond every system, every belief, every certainty, into the open, living mystery that is always here, always now. The power of direct experience and practice. Having seen the limitations of systems and the dangers of turning truth into dogma, we are naturally led to the heart of authentic transformation. Direct experience and practice. If wisdom cannot be handed down as a set of beliefs, if it cannot be captured by words or preserved in systems, then how do we truly come to know it? The answer is simple yet profound. By living it, by practicing it, by experiencing it for ourselves. Throughout the world's great traditions, the most transformative teachings are not those that are merely spoken or written, but those that are embodied and enacted. The Buddha did not simply talk about mindfulness. He invited his followers to sit, to breathe, to observe their own minds. Zen masters did not just explain enlightenment, they gave their students koans, paradoxical questions that cannot be solved by logic, but only by a leap into direct awareness. In many traditions, the presence of an awakened teacher is itself a silent transmission, a living example that inspires and awakens something within us. Why is direct experience so powerful? Because it bypasses the filters of belief, opinion, and habit. It is immediate, undeniable, and alive. When we practice, whether through meditation, mindful action, or simply being present, we step out of the world of concepts and into the world of reality. We see for ourselves not as an idea, but as a living truth. This is why the awakened ones emphasize practice over theory, experience over explanation. They know that no amount of discussion can substitute for a single moment of true seeing. They encourage us to experiment, to observe, to question, to be patient with ourselves as we learn. They remind us that the path is not about accumulating knowledge, but about dissolving the barriers that keep us from direct contact with life. In the West, we often value analysis, debate, and intellectual mastery. But the path of awakening asks us to balance the mind with the heart, to balance knowing with being. It invites us to step out of the comfort of theory and into the vulnerability of practice. It asks us to risk not knowing, to risk being changed, to risk encountering ourselves and the world in a new way. Direct experience is also deeply personal. No one can walk the path for us. No one can meditate, love, forgive, or awaken on our behalf. The journey is ours alone, and yet in walking it, we discover a profound connection to all beings. We see that the truth we find within is not separate from the truth that lives in everyone and everything. As we reflect on this, let us honor the power of practice. Let us be willing to sit in silence, to observe our minds, to meet each moment with openness and curiosity. Let us remember that the greatest teachings are not those we can recite, but those we have lived. And let us trust that, in the simplicity of direct experience, the deepest wisdom is always available, fresh, alive, and waiting to be discovered. The role of the seeker: stop searching for final answers. As we embrace the power of direct experience and practice, a subtle but profound shift begins to occur within us. We realize that the journey is not about collecting more answers, but about letting go of the very need for final answers. The role of the seeker is not to find a perfect explanation, but to awaken to a new way of being, one that is open, curious, and alive to the mystery of existence. For much of our lives, we are conditioned to believe that fulfillment lies in certainty. We search for the ultimate teaching, the final doctrine, the one answer that will resolve all our doubts and bring us lasting peace. Yet, as we have seen, every answer given in words is limited, every system is incomplete, and every belief is only a pointer, not the truth itself. The awakened ones in their wisdom gently guide us away from this endless search. They invite us to stop looking for truth outside ourselves, to stop chasing after the next teaching, the next book, the next authority. Instead, they encourage us to turn inward, to rest in the present moment, to trust our own direct experience. This is not a call to complacency or passivity. It is an invitation to a deeper kind of inquiry, one that is not driven by the anxiety of not knowing, but by the wonder of discovery. When we stop demanding final answers, we become available to the richness of each moment. We begin to see that life itself is the teaching, that every experience is an opportunity to awaken, that the mystery is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be lived. In the West, we are often taught to value achievement, mastery, and control, but the path of awakening asks us to value presence, humility, and surrender. It asks us to let go of our attachment to certainty, to embrace the unknown, and to find peace in the midst of not knowing. This shift is both liberating and challenging. It requires courage to let go of the search for final answers, to trust that what we need will be revealed in its own time, in its own way. It requires patience to sit with our questions, to allow them to deepen, to let them transform us from within. As we reflect on this, let us honor the role of the seeker, not as one who accumulates answers, but as one who lives the questions. Let us remember that the greatest wisdom is not found in what we know, but in how we meet the unknown. And let us trust that, in letting go of the search for final answers, we open ourselves to the living truth that is always here, always now. Living wisdom, awakening beyond words and systems. As our journey comes full circle, we return to the heart of the matter. Wisdom is not a destination, not a doctrine, not a system to be mastered. It is a way of being, a living, breathing presence that infuses every moment with clarity, compassion, and freedom. The awakened ones have shown us, not through explanation, but through their very lives, that the deepest truth is always here, waiting to be lived. To live wisdom is to embody what cannot be spoken. It is to meet each moment with openness, to respond to life with kindness, to rest in the mystery without needing to resolve it. It is to let go of the need for certainty, to trust the unfolding of our own experience, and to allow ourselves to be changed by what we encounter. This is not a path of withdrawal from the world, but a path of full engagement. It is not about escaping suffering, but about meeting it with understanding and compassion. It is not about becoming someone special, but about becoming fully ourselves, real, vulnerable, awake. In the West, we are often taught to seek meaning in achievement, in knowledge, in leaving a legacy. But the greatest legacy is not what we leave behind, but how we live while we are here. The Buddha and other enlightened beings did not create systems for us to follow blindly. They offered a living example, an invitation to awaken in our own unique way. Living wisdom means honoring the teachings, but not being limited by them. It means using words and systems as tools, but not mistaking them for the truth itself. It means trusting our own direct experience while remaining humble and open to learning. It means supporting one another, not by giving answers, but by encouraging each other to look within, to practice, to discover. As we end this reflection, let us remember, the real teaching is not in the words, but in the living. The real awakening is not in the system, but in the freedom to meet life as it is. The real wisdom is not something to be attained, but something to be lived, here, now, in the ordinary moments of our everyday lives. May we walk this path with gentleness, with courage, and with joy. May we honor the silence of the awakened, the power of direct experience, and the beauty of not knowing. And may we trust that, beyond all words and systems, the living truth is always present, always available, always inviting us home. Thank you for walking this journey together. May your life be a living expression of wisdom, compassion, and peace.